Hiya mates and welcome back again. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Rusty and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And yeah, tonight we are going to talk about a cool little movie that you already know because you saw the title, The Dog and the Wicked. Whoa. Ooh. Oh, I got spaced out by the red light. The Dog and the Wicked. This movie was really, yeah. Okay, this movie was released in 2020, and it was written and directed by Bryan Bertino, starring Marin Ireland, Michael Abbott Jr., and Julie Oliver-Touchstone. Now, the movie opens at this farm where you see um, an elderly woman taking care of her dying elderly husband in the bed. And it starts off really, yeah, right from the beginning, I felt creeped out. just, just the whole atmosphere of this movie was creepy. It didn't even like take 3 minutes, and I like that. I like that it started out almost immediately, giving you a very, very uncomfortable feeling. You know, we see her hearing spooky noises, and when she was sitting there cutting up vegetables for dinner, I really, when that little thing happened where you heard what sounded like a chair being pulled out and a creaking like someone sitting down, and she turned around and there it was, a chair was just sitting there in front of her, like someone had pulled it out from the table. Even though you didn't see it happen, they did the perfect sound of that happening, and you knew that's what had happened. And she was just standing there looking down like she was looking directly at someone. And that was pretty damn creepy. Then the next day, um, you see her daughter arrive, Louise, and the mother says, you know, your brother got here about 2 hours ago, and, you know, I told y'all not to come. And she's like, yeah, but, you know, we had to. And um, she let it go. And the daughter went out and saw her brother. They kind of caught up a little bit, you know, on the out there at the farm he was working, and they end up going back for dinner that night. All this stuff takes place over a 6 day period. So it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, parts of the movie, which I thought was kind of interesting, that they would start each new day showing you, you know, this is Monday, and then so it was sort of like 6 little mini chapters to the movie. Um, and then they show them having dinner and thanking her, you know, for good. And they can tell that she's like really seems to be messed up, which, you know, who wouldn't be with the dad dying? But it was interesting because I kept wondering what was he dying of, you know, cancer or something like that. But it was just like he couldn't breathe. But there was like no evidence of what was causing it, and so you can tell that she was just really out of it, and they could tell that. And you got to see the nurse, which would come in later. Um, Everything was just really weird, and you immediately, you know, the daughter like hears strange noises in the house. The son hears strange noises in the house. Um, the woman is out there in the barn, like she was at the beginning, and there's like something creeping around. They really did a great. The director did, I guess Bryan, did a fantastic job of making this movie really creep you out right from the beginning, and it never let up. I mean, there was never any lightness, light or airy feeling in this movie. It was like oppressive and creepy the entire time, from the beginning to the absolutely horrific ending, was very, very creepy. So I really appreciated that. And it kept you on edge too. I don't know if you've seen it, it kept me very anxious throughout the entire movie. So the all three of them, I mean, they start kind of starting to act like her. you know, they're acting uh, down, sad, confused with what little things were occurring, and then that night, the night that major thing happened, which is when she's sitting there chopping the vegetables again. It was a horrific scene, especially because they showed it, a lot of it too. I didn't expect them to show that much, but she's chopping the vegetables, for the dinner, and you hear that same pulling out of the um, chair, and the squeaking and creaking of someone sitting down in it, and then that is when she just begins to chop her fingers off. She just slices the fingers right along with the vegetables, and that was very painful to watch. And you didn't know, because they both the son and the daughter have started having like these little daymares, these little waking nightmare type scenarios. So for a second, I wasn't really sure. I wasn't really sure whether it was real, or it was some kind of a vision of hers or something. But the kid, uh, the daughter gets up and walks in there and starts screaming and goes out the door, and they're looking for all over the place, and they find her hanging in the barn, and she is dead as yesterday. You know, um, and what was interesting is that there was nothing underneath her, and I noticed that. It's mentioned later on, but I actually noticed it in that scene. I was like, there's nothing under her. Like, how did she get up there? That's, you can't get up there without a stool, without a stool or something, and yet there was nothing underneath her. When they tried to get up there and chop her down, the girl had to bring this big wash tub from way over there and pull it up under there for her to stand on to try to, cut the road. So there was absolutely no way. There was nothing on her, and nothing under her, and there was nothing anywhere near her, like she had kicked it out of the way. And I did notice that. And so later on, when it was mentioned, I was like, hey, I saw that. I noticed that too. But so things continue to get really dark, creepy. You still can't never find out what's wrong with the dad, but they start wanting to leave. There's some really good visions, scary visions. The son sees the mother standing outside the window. That's what starts it for him. This priest shows up to the house and starts talking with them, and they're like, but you know she didn't have any belief in that kind of stuff. So they actually started kind of like blaming him, and saying that you're the one who did this. You're the one who got her to believe all of this crap. But they're not wanting to believe him because they found her diary and her journal, and it had all kind of stuff about the devil was there and the devil wanted her, David's soul. That was her husband, their dad, and so that was kind of creepy. I liked that aspect of it. When he then left, they wouldn't have anything to do with him. Now there was like a ranch hand, a neighbor, that knew them all very well. He didn't know what was going on either, and there was a really gross scene where he saw visions in his camper. He saw visions of a girl in there, and blew his brains out. Um, that was pretty gross. The boy, he ends up getting worse. Louise gets worse. Michael, that's the brother, he's getting worse. And seeing all of these really scary visions. The one with her in the shower when she finds her dad standing there with his white eyes, and that was a good jump scare. So the movie had a lot of good jump scares in it. And the nurse, the nurse thing, she seemed so nice, the nurse, and I guess she was. It's just like all of them were being tormented and losing their minds. Um, I didn't quite expect it when she like called the priest, and because he had given her the number, and she called the priest when it was all getting really bad. She called the priest, and the priest said he had no idea who she was, that they were in Texas, but he was in Chicago. He had never been there. And that was the only really part that I didn't get in the movie, was what the hell did he have to do with it then? Because they didn't show him die. I mean, granted, everyone else who had something like that go on ended up dead, but, instead, he talked about he had a daughter and she sounded just like his daughter, but that he had never been there. So I really didn't quite understand what the priest had to do with it then. If he was in Chicago and had not been there, what part did he play in this movie? I mean, how was he connected is what I'm saying. I didn't really get how he was connected to the movie if he was in Chicago and wasn't really a part of it. Because I thought this priest guy was from around there, just like Charlie, the the neighbor who was helping out. These people were at least from around there. Who was this Charlie guy? I mean, who was this priest guy? And where did he come from? And what connection did he have to this family? Other than him saying that she sounded just like his daughter and stuff like that. That was pretty weird. But Michael was out in the barn, and he got like totally freaked out, and was attacked by a zombie mom, which is basically what that was. And he goes back to the house, and I didn't know what was going to happen to him, but because he had the knife and he was freaking out. I thought he was going to stab himself to death or something, but instead they switched to her, who's in the bed with her dad, and that was a fantastic scene, because that creature, they never showed the creature until like the very end, and then you had to freeze frame it to like get a good look at what little they were showing you. But when that creature creeped into the bed and was doing whatever he was doing to the dad, that was a phenomenally scary scene. And then when she then, screamed awake, looked up, and her dad was on the ceiling, visions of Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of thing. And then she screamed herself awake, but the dad had these claw marks across his throat. Like I said, you never knew what was real and wasn't real, and that was pretty cool. She then gets up to find that Michael has fuck this, which my ass would have done at the very beginning. I know you're like, well, I don't know. It's your dad, you know. Your mom's kind of nutty, and your dad's dying. Yes, I understand that. I'm not saying that I would not have came. Okay, I would have came, but then when I saw, you know what I mean. When I saw that my mom was freaky, that my mom was telling me, "I told you not to come. You don't need to be here," and she kept telling me that. I'm like, what the fuck? But when the noises started and the vision started, um, I would have lasted 2 days, I think. All I know is after I had to take her down from the barn, um, I'd have left. I would have left. I would have called the nursing home or whatever. You know, if I had a sibling there with me, if they were going to stay and do something about it, fine, but I'm gone. I'm like, I'm like the joke that, who was it? Beverly Hills Cop. I can't think of his name right now. But, you know, it's like him, you know, making that joke. Um, and I think Red Fox had done it too, and so had Richard Pryor about Amityville Horror, you know. And that was that I walk my ass in that house and something screams at me, you know, little pig with red eyes screams at me to get out. My ass is gone. And that's kind of the way I would be in this movie. Um, I can take a hint. You know what I mean? And my mom telling me not to be there and then like doing what she did to herself, yeah, I don't think I would have hung around for too much longer. But she finds Michael has done that very thing. He has taken off and he's gone. And she manages to get a hold of him and they have this big breakdown over the phone where she is screaming at him, "I can't believe you left me here." And he's like, "Look, we can't do anything about it." That's what I'm saying. I'd have said a lot of the stuff that he did, you know. And they end up hanging up, and then things have really gotten bad because Michael, when he does get home, he walks in to find that his wife has killed his two, what, they like 12-year-old, like 10 and 12. He walks in to find that that his wife has killed them at the breakfast table and then killed herself. So he just loses it because he was already crazy from the stuff that has been happening for the last week. He falls on the floor and then cuts his own throat, which takes a lot of damn guts. I mean, you got to be like really freaked out to cut your own throat. But he cuts his throat and then goes over there to the wall and leans up against it. And then that's when he realizes that that was all an illusion from the demon or whatever, because there's nobody in there. His daughters are not at the table. And you can tell that he changed his mind after that. But in case you're wondering out there, slashing your throat from ear to ear, there's not really going to be any changing your mind about it. But he definitely changed his mind when he saw that it was a fake out by the demon, obviously. And he tried to hold his throat together. That's just not going to work. You know, it's just not going to work. So he's dead. And then his poor wife and two daughters walk in, and she walks in to the dining room kitchen there, and there he is up against the wall, and she screams, and you're like, that was fucked up, you know. So kudos to the director for that. Then we go back, and we see the nurse, you know, she's hearing the argument that they had on the phone. And interestingly enough, you knew she had went bad or something because when they showed her face, she was smiling. She started smiling about this argument that she was hearing this girl cry and, you know, that her brother had left her and stuff there. And that's when the shit hit the fan with her because she got up. She started stabbing herself all over, um, knocked the girl out, knocked Louise out, and her name was Louise, right? I hope I'm not calling her somebody that she's not. I mean, I know I've got all of her stuff right, but still. So she knocks her out, and then when she comes to, this nurse is just like stabbing herself. She stabs herself in both eyes, and that was just fucked up too. Um, the girl then wakes up. There was this other scene where the granddaughter, and if somebody out there might be going, did you forget about that scene? Where the granddaughter came in. That was very interesting too. The granddaughter, Charlie's granddaughter, knocked on the door, and she seemed so innocent and everything at first, but she wouldn't come into the house, at that moment. And she told the girl, "I can smell him." Who was she talking about? If you know, tell me. Who was she talking about? Was she talking about the dad, like going to die, and she could already smell him? Or was she talking about the demon coming? Because she did say that, he would be here soon. So it's like I was momentarily confused till I just didn't give a shit. But I was momentarily confused, like, is she talking about she can smell the demon coming, or is she talking about the girl's dad is going to die? Um, Louise, yeah, I'm right. See, I had to look because I didn't want to keep fucking up. But Louise, so she told Louise, I can smell him. That part. So you had the priest, and then you had that part that wasn't clear to me. I didn't know who she meant that she could smell, but she did say it really gross. But so yeah, that nurse killing herself with the eyeballs, and so that was pretty phenomenal too. And then we had the final scene where the dad died, and she's like, "Don't leave me," and stuff like that. And right as the movie starts to fade to black, you get that final jump scare when the creature actually attacks Louise. And it was a split second too, I mean, I had to get my finger on the space bar to pause that bitch. And I'm like, caught it right at the right time, and I looked at him, and he looked like a, I guess if I had to choose exactly who the creature looked like, it looked like the very last scene that David Bowie was in The Hunger, when he had turned into the old decrepit thing right before she put him into the coffin. That's what it looked like. That's the immediate thing that came to my mind. But it just looked like a really old gray Nosferatu is what it looked like. Really old gray Nosferatu. That's exactly what the creature looked like. But you only got to see it for this split second. And if you want to actually look at it, you got to pause. You got to pause it. So, yeah. And then the movie was over, and I was like, yeah, that was very good. That was very good. Um, was this like a Shutter original? Was this like a Shutter thing, or somebody else? One of those places. I don't know. I don't have those things. I'm not going to. If they want my money, they will do this. They will release a physical copy so that I can buy it. But yeah, I think this was a really good movie. Definitely like a 7.5 out of 10. Um, it scared the shit out of me. Left me very nervous in the middle of the night. Um, I don't know why I like watching horror movies at 2 a.m. right before I go to bed, but for some reason I do. And I don't have nightmares or anything either. You would think that with all of the horror that I watch that it would come out. And it does scare me. You know, I don't know about any other horror collectors or anything, but um, I do feel the thing. I mean, it does scare me. Jump scares work on me. Um, I've had more than one panic attack watching a horror movie. yet I have hundreds and hundreds and 1,000 of them. I've got 1,000 of them at least. Um, so they do work on me, and yet for some reason I like watching them in the middle of the night, and I'll go to bed and I don't. I've never had a nightmare based on a horror movie that you know I've watched. I don't know why. Even though that I've had some disturb the hell out of me, scare me, make me really nervous, anxious, have anxiety attacks, even panic attacks. Um, I think the biggest panic attack I ever had, for some reason, I don't know why, was when he changed into a werewolf uh, and I had seen the damn thing 50 times, but this one time, for some reason, when he changed into the werewolf in American Werewolf in London, I had a panic attack from the dark side of hell. I thought I was going to go screaming down the road, and that was like some kind of mental snap or something, because I had seen that movie 50 times, because he's cute and there's a lot of nudity in that movie of him. But so I had seen that movie since it came out when I was a kid on VHS. So why in the world, you know, 15 years later, it would cause me to have a panic attack when he changed into a werewolf? I don't know. People's minds are weird. But yeah, Dark and the Wicked, 2020. Love, love, love this movie. If you haven't seen it, tell me about it. The shipper, don't you hate that? I'm a collector, and that really irritates me. If you talk to collectors, don't fucking put stickers and shit on our movies. But it looks like the seller either removed a sticker. Whatever he did, it looks like he scratched. He looks like he scratched my case, my slipcase. Bad, bad boy. I don't like that. But, yes. So, love you, miss you, bye. Thank you for stopping by and listening to me chat about this little movie. I really, really liked it. If you've seen it, let me know what you think about it. If you haven't, you really should. This is a really, really good movie. Um, it left some questions, but that's okay. That's what your imagination is for. Um, I'd like to see a sequel to it. Maybe they can like delve into the mythology, you know? I like franchises and I like mythology, but you have to build them, you know? But I would like to. What is this creature? What does he want besides to steal your soul? Who was it? But yeah, Dark and the Wicked, 2020. See you in the next video. I'll have to pick out something else to watch. You are a very special person. Always remember that. No matter what anybody is saying or doing, you are the only one of you. Support indie horror by buying it, renting it, going to the theaters, however, going to the picture show, however you can. Support indie horror, and I will see you in the next video. Love you. Miss you. Bye-bye.